all of a sudden we hear, "Hold up, I'm coming. I'm coming." And I look up the hill and I see this dude running down the hill. I see this dude running down the hill, and it's freaking Avery, and he has this like white polo shirt on with blue and white seersucker booty shorts on. And he is
what were you doing?
Hauling butt down the hill because we're about to do live fire training. And he's like, "No, don't start without me." Welcome to the show, guys. we were laughing because we've been having some technical difficulties, and we figured it out now.
And then you paused, and I was like, "He's not going to say anything."
Well, y'all know how it is in public service. When you get on the mic, you got to go, pause. What am I going to say?
God, we've had plenty of time for you to think about what you're going to say.
No one would have known that if we weren't on video, and if you would have called me out.
You said we were having
Sunshine.
technical difficulties.
Okay.
So you already brought it up. Anyways,
I was talking about with that.
It doesn't matter at this point.
It's all part of the plan.
It's all part of the plan. Hey, here we are. We're back with Faithful Responders, and we appreciate everybody joining us. We really have a good time, and we got a great guest tonight. I've actually been looking forward to having him on for a while. Very well known in the Walton County, Newton County, Monroe area, like just all over the place. I feel like every firefighter I know out here knows who he is. So. And I can't wait to tell y'all the story of the first time I met him. So with no more delay, I'm going to introduce the owner of the incredible armory, Dead Crow. We have Avery Jones.
Thank you. It was great. This has been a great experience so far. I walked in, y'all had everything ready, gave me a monster, and said, "Sit down, let's talk." Very professional setup here.
Got the American flag and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great.
That's why we have to lead with energy drink. You might need this, brother. We're gonna be here in a minute.
Yeah.
No, for real. I'm excited. Very excited to be here. Been looking forward to it.
Well, we're really happy to have you on. I've been, like I said, Avery and I have been talking about it for a while about him coming on, and at first he didn't really want to, and I understand. There's a couple guys didn't want to. I mean, Selene was the same way at first.
I wanted to. I just wasn't ready. I needed time.
That's kind of the same answer I've gotten from a couple of guys too. Not ready yet.
I think it's a mixture of emotions. Like, there's some things that might come up and you don't want to talk about, or you're uncomfortable with it. But then also the fact that like it's a little nerve-wracking for people who haven't done it before. So
there's a part of I'll explain it too later. It's part of my story.
But this is a great outlet for a lot of people, especially like it can be considered like a cathartic experience.
Yeah.
With you being able to express yourself, and other people who are scared to do it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
So I guess we'll start out like tell us how you started out, and tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from, and then kind of lead into how you got into public service.
Yeah. So and you forgive me because I've listened to a lot of episodes and they've started to like blur together. So I'm not. If I attribute something to your episode that wasn't you, just forgive me in advance.
I'm sure
because I was pretty sure it was you. But anyways, I grew up very similar to what I think Clint said. There was no cataclysmic moment for me that really changed my life. I grew up in the church in Conyers. Heritage Hills is where we went. My parents had me in high school, which is kind of a neat thing now looking back as an adult. I can understand. My parents had me in their senior year of high school.
Nice.
Yeah, November of their senior year. They had gotten married the June before, got a house, moved in together, had jobs, work release kind of deal. And then, so it was actually really funny when I was 8 or 9 years old. One of their best friends from high school was over to the house hanging out, and they're going through yearbooks and everything. And it said class of 1994 on it. And I was like, wait, I was born in 1993.
This math ain't math.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And my Uncle Scott, their buddy that was there, was like, all right, I'm going home. Y'all have a good one. Good luck with that. He was like, that was the day Avery learned math. He was like, so they explained it to me, and it made sense, you know. So my parents are, I mean, I'm about to turn 31. They're 48, 47 years old. I grew up with young parents.
They're almost my age.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you could be my dad if you decided to
really early.
get your girlfriend pregnant junior year of high school. You know what I mean? But they're great parents. They just celebrated their 31st year of marriage.
Awesome.
Yep.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they're in their 40s.
Congratulations.
They've got grandkids. The kids are moved out of the house. They're living it up now. So
That's awesome.
But that was a neat part of growing up. Now looking back at it, of how my parents raised me and everything. They were younger and very engaged. I remember asking my mom as a kid, like, how old are you? And she's like, I'm 19. You know, like, it's wild, but it's great. So, but grew up in the church. Went to Christian school for middle school because we were living in Conyers. And my mom had heard about the horror stories of Conyers, Rockdale County Public Schools, and she was like, absolutely not. And it backfired on them. I got kicked out of 2 Christian schools. So I hold, that's my title. I hold back-to-back expulsions from Christian schools. Silly stuff, nothing crazy. It's easy to get kicked out of those schools when you're outspoken, charming guy like me.
I did too. So,
Did you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
8th grade, I got kicked out.
God, good for you.
And they fired my mom because she worked for the school.
You know what? I'm not going to say anything mean about them. I don't know what school it is, but
They're not open anymore.
yeah. Well, probably not with making such poor decisions.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Letting you in the door in the first place.
yeah,
Is the poor
that was
decision
the
he's
poor
talking about.
You just lost your future.
they didn't have to.
valedictorian.
They didn't have to fire his mom. We can at
That's
least
pretty
get that.
So petty.
Yeah.
So petty.
We went through all that, got through high school and everything, and I was one of those kids that in high school I was there to have fun and talk to my friends and play football. I did
Wait a
not
minute.
care.
Is that not what we're all supposed to be doing?
Yeah, well, that's why we're all firemen and police officers.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's why we didn't go to college, and probably best that we didn't. But yeah, I really didn't care about anything, you know, that was going to be worthwhile, things that I should have cared about, until I found the fire department. And they had, my mom was just desperate to find something to get me to graduate high school, and she had found that Walton County was doing that intern program.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, they would allow you for several of your class, I think it was like 2 class periods, to come in the mornings to the fire station.
Yeah.
And that was like your elective class. And I graduated high school with all my national certs and everything else, and was a volunteer fireman for Walton County, at 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
I've
it was
heard
an incredible program.
I've
And
heard
Do they do
about
that
them
anymore?
doing something like that for like college internships. You know, we had that a bunch at the sheriff's office, especially in the investigations. But it's actually really cool.
so Walton's program, I think there's more around now, but
Yeah.
2010 was when it started. I went through in 2011. I was the second class, and then it was the only one in the nation that was doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was an incredible tool. Honestly, it saved me. My senior year was the best grades I had my entire high school career, because I cared about something. I fell in love with the fire service.
Talk about character development.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
I really got to grow up my senior year. I had something to work towards and strive towards.
Sure.
So we graduated in 2012 and had my fire certs and everything else, and I got my first job with Social Circle, full-time job. Walton County couldn't hire anybody under 21 then. The insurance policy wouldn't let them. So they were like, you're just going to have to wait till you're 21. But I'm 18 years old, and I'm chomping at the bit, and I'm all fired up wanting to, be a fireman. So I went to Social Circle. I was there for a short little spell, and actually ended up getting fired from there. So that was a little kick in the gut, and it was even during my probation, I was cocky, 19-year-old kid, all excited about being a fireman. Thought I knew everything already and learned some lessons the hard way. But finally got on with Walton County full time, and that has kind of been just the daily routine every third day since then for 11, 12 years now.
Yeah.
But you were talking about the first time I met you. I remember that.
Uh,
I'll let you tell that story.
Actually, what's crazy is me and Sunshine, a.k.a. Clinton, a.k.a. Clint.
Me.
We were in volunteer school together. And what's crazy is I had just been let go of the recession. All that recession stuff happened. And I had lost my job. I told so I'd lost my job, and I wanted to. My dad was a police officer, so I wanted to get in public service. My dad didn't want me to really be a police officer, so I talked to my father-in-law, who retired from Gwinnett, and I talked to him a little bit about it. And I said, "Okay, cool. Well, I kind of drug my feet at first, and I don't know if I ever said this on here, but I warrant or give all the credit for me being in the fire service from Clint Ayers. If y'all know him, he was a commissioner for Walton County.
Yeah.
And basically he helped me get my foot in. And then I kind of, like I said, drug my feet. And he's like, I'll never forget this. I was trying to find jobs. I was cutting his yard I'd started a little landscaping. And he came out, he goes, "Have you filled that application out? You started volunteer school?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm doing this. He goes, "You don't want to be a fireman." He's like, "I just wasted my time." And I was like, crap. I kind of do though, but he's right. Like, what's holding me back? And literally the next day I went up and saw Chief Moore and the rest is history. And so, Clint and I were in volunteer school, which is absolutely crazy because we had Captain/Chief Todd Edwards teaching us one day, and Father Fire is what everybody calls him. And I'll never forget this. We were doing we did a settee, and I didn't even know to go in. I didn't even know how to put my gear on. Like, we were doing live fire, and I was like, I went in there, I was like, this is the bomb. And me and Clint and a couple other guys, Moobs. Justin Bowman. I'm glad I remember his name. I'd never called him Justin in my life. But we're down there, and they had started, and all of a sudden we hear, "Hold up, I'm coming. And I look up the hill, and I see this dude running down the hill. I see this dude running down the hill, and it's freaking Avery. And he has this like white polo shirt on with blue and white seersucker booty shorts on. And he is
What were you doing?
hauling butt down the hill because we're about to do live fire training. And he's like, "No, don't start without me." And I said, "Who is this guy?" But I'll never forget. That's the first time I ever met Avery. And then we actually burned. Man, we burned all day that day. That was a good day. It was a really
Was
good
Gibby
day.
in y'all's class too?
No.
Alex Gibson? Oh, okay. For some reason, I lumped him in with y'all in my mind.
So he was in, I want to say 2 classes after that.
Okay.
He was definitely after us. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember. He might have been the one after us.
Yeah.
But I know he was 1 or 2. We were in the one with rookie Cole.
Yep.
Cole Myers.
Cole Myers.
Yeah, Cole.
You remember that one guy that was like, we're talking about the different type of extinguishers? He's like, "Yeah, K for Cal."
Yeah.
We're like, what? He's like, "That's how I remember."
That guy went to, I want to say Forsyth and got fired.
I'm terribly surprised.
What about the guy who we were going in live fire? Okay, this blew my mind because I'm thinking firemen, we're going to go fight fire.
Yeah.
He went into the first live fire we ever did and freaked out.
And he used to work for the fire department.
Yeah, and never went into another one. Like, he was scared to go interior. And I said, "How is this guy?" And I think he even worked for a fire department like after that.
He worked for the fire department somewhere, left, and he worked at like Home Depot or something and
He
wanted
did.
to come back.
And I was like, "Wait a minute."
I remember
Always
that
Did
too.
Home Depot.
did this guy miss?
Always Home Depot.
Did this guy miss the job description portion of what we're doing? Because I'll never forget that. He wouldn't go back into a fire. He was
Yeah.
terrified.
Nobody lands softly at Home Depot. That's a crash
I
landing.
mean,
No.
Sometimes
Strange.
you need the crash landing, though.
I got a strange question for you.
Okay.
when you started your career
Yes.
working in social circle, did you still live at home with your parents?
Yes.
Where did they live?
Jersey.
Okay.
Right
Gated
outside
neighborhood?
Jersey. Yeah.
Okay. I remember the first time I met you, too.
Really?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
How did...
Whoa.
This is,
So,
wow.
I don't know that I've ever talked
Was
to
he
you
wearing
about this.
booty shorts?
He actually didn't. He just had a towel on.
Oh, even worse.
What
This
is
guy.
going on?
I'm
the
very
things he
serious about
wears.
I'm
this.
so glad you brought this up.
So,
I'm
before
sweating over here.
I started volunteer training, you started talking about all this and really got my gears turning.
Yeah.
It's crazy how you remember one thing and you remember
He's like,
other things.
I know Avery.
So, I'm wanting to get hired with the fire department. I've already applied places. I'm waiting, and I hear about this volunteer class coming up. So at the time, I'm working at a machine shop during the day and delivering pizzas for Papa John's at night. And sometimes on the weekends, I'd work during the day. Well, I pull up, and this guy's got this beautiful black
The
truck.
black truck, yeah.
Yep, with a firefighter tag on the front.
Yep.
I'm like, heck yeah. It's fireman. He's going to know that I want to be one of him.
Oh, no, dude.
So I deliver him a pizza at lunch, and he comes to the door with nothing but a towel on.
I had no idea about
Blair and
this.
Stacy's mom in the background,
No,
whipping his hair around.
I was only 18
Yes,
at the
pizza
time.
boy.
I'm 18. Yeah. Anyways,
What time you said lunch?
lunchtime. Mm-hmm.
Why am I
Apparently
home
you-
naked
Why
at
are you
lunch?
answering
You're ordering a pizza.
Door with
It's
Yeah,
probably
but-
a weekday.
I mean, if you think
How
about
would I
it,
have known the neighborhood though?
Did
and the
we
truck,
talk
too?
about? You're right. Did we talk about the fire department?
Yes.
Were you did. You're like, I don't care. He's in a towel. Hey man.
that made him want to be a firefighter even more.
Yeah.
Midday in a towel.
You
Heck yeah,
all walk
dude.
around like this?
I like you shut the door
Yes.
in my face. I was trying to
That
ask you more
48
questions
off,
about
man. That 48 off.
it. No, you said something, man. We had a rough night last night.
In
Like that.
social
I'm like,
circle.
oh my god, it sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm sure we did at Station 6 in Social Circle.
Yeah.
Midday
Not knowing,
shower.
heck, not knowing anything. I was like, man, I bet they did.
Yeah.
God, I'm glad he's able to get this pizza. Don't worry about the tip, brother. It's on
That
me
is
today.
incredible.
I remember that.
You enjoy this pizza.
And then,
You deserve
did you
it,
know why I
hero.
remember that? Why it's clicking in my mind now? Because when you're talking about that day that he came to help out with training, I remember seeing you pull up in that truck. I'm like, it's him. It's the pizza guy. No pants.
No pants.
And I cannot believe that I've never talked to you about this before.
That is so
It's
funny,
no
man.
pants Nick.
Dude.
Anyways, so
Booty short Bill.
Listen, it wasn't until it really wasn't until 2020ish when I started my business that I really started to say, "Hey, these 48 hours off, you need to be productive. You need to do something." Because truthfully, I mean, those times the idle hands are a devil's playground is 100%. And as a young guy that joins the fire department at 18 years old and is making decent money
Yeah.
and then has all that time off and to, sit around in a towel and order pizza in his parents' house. It's dangerous. It's
See,
real
that's where
dangerous.
I was in the complete opposite because when I got in the fire service, I already had a kid, and in rookie school, I found out that we were pregnant with. The end of rookie school, we found out we were pregnant with my second kid. So like, I always wonder, I was like, man, these guys that I'm working with, they had nothing else going on, no family. They're just going home on their 2 off days and just like what is their life like?
Yeah.
making terrible decisions and wasting money.
See, here recently we've been going back through old memories and everything, our old friend group of everybody with everything that happened with Talbert and stuff. And we have all said, like, I cannot believe we lived this way.
Oh, God.
Like, before our kids were born and before businesses and everything else, we were like, we really just messed around for 48 hours and did nothing. So I told them, I was like, from like 2012 to like 2020, just 8 straight years, I have nothing to be proud of. Nothing at all. There's nothing but shame there. Absolutely.
You survived. So.
Yeah, I did.
There's
I
that.
did. But looking back on it now, I cannot believe we lived that way. And the way that you were looking at us, like, I can't believe these guys lived this way.
I was jealous, upset, and pissed at the same time. I was like, yeah.
Well, now I look at the new kids at Newton the same way. I'm like, dude, it's wild. I'm trying to get Cody, the guy I work with, Madsen. trying to get him
Oh,
to buy
yeah.
a boat, like vicariously. He's got all this money.
Y'all too with Madsen is it just. I think of
We have
us
fun.
a boat.
Well, here's a guy. We just recently pushed him into getting a girlfriend, so we're proud of him. He's getting out there. But he'd come into work, and I'm like, "What did you do on your 2 days off?" "Oh, well, nothing really. Just went to the
Sitting
gym,
around.
and I went to the grocery store."
Sitting around ordering
I
pizza.
was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Dude, I just asked you about 2 whole days of your life, and you told me that you went to the grocery store and you went to the gym. Like, you have to do something. Get out
What
to go
else?
buy a boat. You like fishing? Go buy a boat. Who's stopping you? You don't even have a girlfriend." Yeah.
Little John boat.
So now I'm pushing him. I'm trying to like vicariously.
oh yeah. You know what they call them at Station 7?
What?
Like
Mad
when I was
Dog?
at when I was at 7, they would check like their call volume, and I'm like, y'all are idiots. I'd walk by them, and you could hear like the 2 guys in there going, "Oh man, Mad Dog Madsen's got me, man. Mad Dog's got me."
When he was up at Station 1, probably.
Yeah,
Now we're at the slowest station in all
Oh
of
my
Newton
gosh.
County out in the country. And me and
Jeez.
this other guy are just railing Mad Dog all day long. He's such a good kid, though.
Yeah.
He's a real trooper.
I would say so.
Yeah.
So, what like when it comes to like I guess your faith, you grew up in the church,
I did.
but then like what happened with that? Like growing up in the church?
Yeah. So, I was saved. I accepted Christ in Vacation Bible School. I think it was 1998, like the good old days.
Oh yeah.
So I was 6 or 7, maybe 8 years old, and had grown up in the church and had heard everything. And I do truly feel like I came to an understanding then of, okay, well, heaven and hell, and there's a cost for sin, and Christ paid that price and everything else. So, I did my public profession. I was baptized, raised in a Baptist church. And then, I just kind of scooted on the same way any other church kid does. I went to the Christian schools and went to Bible classes and everything else, and just kind of, moseyed on through everything the way that kids and adolescent kids do, And then my faith really took a leap, I guess, when I was starting to get a little older and I had met my first wife. We were really heavily involved at a church here in Walton County, and I had been helping with the student ministry a lot, and I had felt a big calling to do that and to be involved heavily with that. I mean, to the point to where like it. I knew that's what I was supposed to be doing in that time. The Lord broke me down,
Yeah.
broke me against a rock, and I felt it, and I knew, and I was where I was supposed to be. And then that quickly changed into me also. It quickly changed into me also being more involved with the fire department, wanting more purpose and meaning there. And so Walton County has a lot of single-man stations. So there for a while, I'm getting put out to these single-man stations. I'd been there for a while. I can drive and everything else. So they put me at these single-man stations for 3 or 4 years, in Walnut Grove and Gratis.
Mm-hmm.
And it really takes a toll on you to be, like, in your early 20s, you're still gung-ho. You want to fight fire. You want to do everything else. And I love Walton County to death. I'll never leave them. That's home. Everybody here. I cut my teeth here. Everybody here is family to me. I have the best memories. But, I was also showing up to work in, like, gym shorts and Crocs and, never putting on pants again, which is some reoccurring theme with me.
This guy.
I mean, but when
I'm
it's-
starting to learn. I'm learning about myself
I
here.
was thinking, I was
There's
like,
a pattern.
I was getting a little offended because that's how I show up to work.
Well, the problem is it would be
You
8 o'clock at
ingrate.
night, and I'm still in them. Which back in the day that was frowned upon. Somebody come beep bopping it, but nobody's coming to Gratis.
Yeah.
I'd bring my dog to work, man.
It was the worst too because I didn't have cell service in the station.
Exactly.
I had to go stand out in the
It
parking lot.
literally started to feel like I was being punished every third day going to work. Like, all right, go in there until you're solitary confinement. Don't talk.
Yeah.
sweep the floor, and go to bed. And that's what it started.
How
to feel
old
like.
were you?
22, 23.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, young. Yeah. So, getting together a lot with buddies outside of work and just, hammering beers on my days off, just really drinking a lot, to the point that during that time it really didn't seem like, we had a drinking problem. I'll speak for myself. I didn't have a drinking problem, but looking back, it was quickly headed that way.
Yeah.
So there was a spot coming open at Monroe. And, it's like the busiest house in the county as far as all the fire departments are concerned. There's 11 guys there and, 3 engines and a ladder truck and all kinds of. So I was like that. I need to go there. Like, I need to go be busy and everything else. So I had left Walton full time and went Monroe, and kept Walton part time just because it's home, like I said, and went to Monroe, and I had fun. I love those guys. Had a great time there. The drinking and the partying on the off days was still big time heavy issue. At this point, my faith was declining rapidly. I'd go to church every now and then, and I knew where I was going, but as far as my prayer life, my studying, being in the Word, that was pretty much non-existent. It was go to work, go to a part-time job, drink some beers whenever I could, have fun with my friends, and then really living for myself is what I was doing. And
how quick was that transition for you? Like, how fast, whenever you got into the fire service, did you see it start spiraling downward?
Oh, quick.
Yeah.
Quick. The more heavily involved I became with the fire service, because I had went from volunteer to full time.
Yeah.
And then, I did some part-time for some years, but then, straight full-time. The more I got involved in working 48s and working part-time jobs on the EMS and everything else, just rapidly. And looking back, I can see now, too, because I wasn't disciplined. I was in my early 20s, and I'm working 96 hours a week between the part-time jobs and everywhere else and picking up 48s. You have a day off on Sunday morning. All you want to do is sleep in.
Yeah.
And you don't have the discipline to get up and go where you should go, or when you're at the station at night, you're sitting there watching whatever's on TV instead of secluding yourself and going and getting in the Word. And my faith really, really struggled for it.
And those guys become like your family, so.
Absolutely. And the guys that I was hanging out with and drinking with on our days off were all firemen.
Were they around your age?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for the most part, except for one exceptionally older one that we pick on.
You say exceptionally older?
Well, 2 of them, really. Talbert was one of them, too. But
Because he's my age.
yeah.
I was just about
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
And he was.
Well, hold on now. The reason I bring this up, and I gave him crap for it not
Poor
long
Scotty.
ago. We were in our 20s, and this 30-year-old was like, you know what, these guys, and you know who I'm talking about, the big, tall, bald one with a mustache. He's like, you know what, these guys are cool. I'm going to relive my 20s with them. So his entire 30s, he was going through it. Tell me, more power to him. I can't do it now. Trying to live that way in your 30s, there's no way. But he also didn't have kids at the time either. He waited later in life and everything else. So there was a couple of them that were older than us, but they really just wanted to give their 20s another run. Is what they were doing.
Were any of them involved in church at the time?
No, I don't believe so. And I even have videos. I would bring them to church with me.
Oh yeah.
We would go to. It's so horrible. We'd go to church hungover.
I was just.
Oh,
About
well,
to ask. I'm not even
we
kidding.
would.
Yeah,
We
but I
would show
mean,
up.
I think that happens more than you think.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think it does. And I mean, it was better than laying on the couch or doing whatever else. So there was still some connection there, and there was some drive. And they did. I got a video of Talbert and all of them sitting in church. We're having family church day. We went and ate lunch afterwards and whatever. Went home and passed out. But they're great dudes, salt of the earth guys.
Oh yeah.
Somebody recently talked about 3 a.m. friends, and those are the guys. If I called any of them right now, they would be here in a moment's notice, and they have. They've done it before. So, great dudes, but as far as what it was doing, and I can't speak to what it was doing to them or their life, but to me personally, looking back, I was a completely different person. And really the cataclysmic change that happened in my life was I had my daughter. And that, I very quickly realized that the person that I was not who I wanted my daughter to have as an example. And the husband that I was in my first marriage was not the husband that I wanted my daughter to have as an example for her. And I have nothing but great things to say about my first wife. She is an incredible, exceptional human. She's a wonderful mother. And I was just, truthfully, I was a horrible husband to her. And she knows that, and we have a good relationship now, and especially for our child and everything. But I was just looking back, and a lot of that has come up recently too with Talbert passing. Talbert passed last week. So a lot of that has come up recently because we go through looking at old videos and pictures and memories together, and where I look at it and I'm like, holy cow, I don't even recognize that guy. And truthfully, a major part of me not being ready, like we talked about earlier, to join or get on the podcast was, I was a horrible husband. I made some mistakes, and I had a very, very dark period of my life of shame is truthfully what it is now that I can see, and looking back and know what it was. It was a long period of shame. I didn't feel worthy to even tell anyone that I was a Christian, which y'all have touched on in the podcast before too. Like how I think David talked about it. How am I supposed to go witness to this guy when I've done these horrible things that are very public? I'm an outspoken, honest public guy. People know what to expect and know what I've done and things of me. So how could I even begin to profess something, when I have been so horrible and so down? And we're going to a new church that I've really enjoyed, Bethlehem Church. And my favorite thing about that church, and my wife feels the same way, my new wife feels the same way, and my parents and my brother, every time you sit in there and he preaches, you're like, oh, that man is talking to me. But then my wife will feel the same way, but it was something completely different. It's the Holy Spirit is what it is. Absolutely. So one day he, and this was the change that kind of said, okay, you need to start healing from this. This is years after my divorce and everything. He said that how arrogant and foolish are we to think that our sin could outweigh his grace and what he did for us.
Yeah.
And that just slapped me in the mouth. And I had realized that what I had been feeling, what had shut me down, ostracized me from my friends, my family, I had really internalized and kind of shut down it was shame that was keeping me away from living my life. And so that was part of, maybe one day, Scotty, but not yet. I was still working through all that stuff. And
it's hard to be vulnerable.
I would almost say that shame was just as reckless on my life as alcohol was.
It's
truthfully,
debilitating.
It is.
It tears away at your spirit.
Absolutely, yeah.
And people see it. They see it manifesting in everything you do, your relationships, the way you trust or distrust, and it's big. And with everyone, even your parents.
Oh yeah,
siblings.
My shame had really manifested itself when I was still in my first marriage too. And I knew the way that I was living was not the way that I was brought up. It was not the way, like I said, my daughter was a very cataclysmic change for me in my life. So, I had decided that it was time for like a hard reset. Like unplug it all. We need to stop this, because I'm not going to be this father, and I'm not going to be this person. I can't live that way, because quite literally it was, and I'll be vulnerable because people need to hear it and be honest. It was going to kill me, truthfully. And I had attempted suicide at one point. It got very close. It was there. And in a brief moment, I was able to snap out of it. Actually, my dog looked at me. I truly believe that the Lord used my dog. My dog looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And I snapped out of it. So that went into trying to get some counseling and everything else. And really, this was just before my daughter was born. And man, that kid, I couldn't be that father or that person for that kid. You really don't know that love until that child is born, and holy cow, it changes your entire life.
It does.
You're not living for yourself anymore the way that I was, and the way I shouldn't have been, but I was living for myself. And
these suicidal ideations was before your daughter was born.
Yeah. I have never struggled with that since my child was here. I have way too much to live for. I would never leave that job. There's no way I could.
Yeah. So you said that your shame was just as bad as your drinking or drinking it, but it's really like drinking's almost like it's just like a stacker or like a steroid to a workout, like that. The drinking was coming because of the more of the drinking, everything is coming because of shame, and Satan. I love how the Bible depicts him as this like ferocious, like vicious lion, seeking who he can devour. And he can take something small and I told my wife, we were talking about this one day, like Satan's not going to come at you and just like rip the Band-Aid off. What he's going to do is he's going to do that little at a time to where, over time you don't even realize what's happened. Or like a seam in a shirt or a thread, the thread comes loose, and what he'll do is he'll just pick the next one and stop.
Yeah.
And then let you work on that, and then he'll go pick the next one. And then when you start and by the time you look at it, you don't have a shirt anymore because he's just picked the look.
Probably about halfway through, you start unraveling it yourself.
Yeah,
Just got you,
and you're just doing it yourself. And you said what your preacher was saying about his grace isn't good enough. Man, one of the greatest things I've ever heard is this little bit that I listen to all the time. It talks about shame, and he goes, how dare us? He goes, how dare we think that we can take on our shame? Yeah. He goes, we can't take that on. No. He goes, that's the gospel. Like that is what it's all about.
Amen.
Yeah.
And your story, what's crazy is that Satan had you so confused about your story that he had you in this hold. And the thing is that now what's crazy about that is you can use that and you can utilize that. You have something that you can talk about that like God actually helped you.
You'll be able to reach people that others can't.
Exactly. And the way that I've thought about it too, that the drinking was like a blanket while you have a fever, Yeah. It felt good.
Yeah.
But it's not fixing that fever.
Tell you what, Jacob and I have talked about this before, but back before we've even considered doing the podcast, it's almost like it turns from something fun to like you're searching for comfort there.
That's exactly what it was.
And you're not ever going to find it there.
And you didn't. And that's truthfully, that's what led me to the suicidal place that I was in. Was I wanted peace internally. I wanted comfort. And to me, in the moment, during that time, I didn't know what was causing all this, but through Christ, I was able to figure out that Satan was using shame.
Absolutely.
And all these other things were a byproduct of, at the very basic, that was the fever, was my shame. And that's what had spiraled and like you talked about, had just caused all this unraveling. And once I got that figured out, man, I'm set. It's liberating because, after my divorce, I sat down with my family, and with my new wife, before we even, like, after our first date, I was like, hey, look, like, this is my past. This, you need to know, you know, what you're getting into. This is what's going on. And living that way, not embracing my past, but being just open and honest about it and telling folks about it has been extremely liberating, because I know that there's a ton of folks who don't care for me, and rightfully so. But I'm not living for that. I'm not living for them. I'm living for, you know, my children, truthfully, you know, and I have a mission now through Christ to be able to hopefully reach some folks who were in that same place that I was and didn't even know that I was in. And because it is easy to slip into that hole.
If anybody knows Avery, man, one thing I love is that when I'd come in the morning, I knew I was going to get a good laugh, or, you know, it's going to be, because I guarantee you, I didn't know you during that time, but I guarantee you that you hit it well.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say you're one of those people that, for me, I'm not hiding that well. Like, people know right off the bat if I'm not right or something's going on, like, you can just read it. And sometimes I try to fake that because I don't want to have to answer questions or talk about it, but I can't hide it because it's just, I can't let it go. But I can see you, like, I can see that damaging you, and you, like, covering that up. And
oh yeah,
so
big time.
I've noticed over the years, especially my time with the sheriff's office, with a lot of the younger folks too, a lot of the pain afflicted people, like, really deep down, they are the most happy-go-lucky. They're the most, like, jocular, you know, making jokes all the time, you know, super fit, you know, and, you know, likable and all that. But, I mean, they're hurting.
Yeah.
You know, and they're hurting bad.
And, you know, one of the biggest things that just really spiraled and contributed to my shame, too, was it wasn't something that had happened to me that was hurting me. You know what I mean? It's something that I had done. I had every right to be mad at myself, disgusted, you know, and a lifestyle that I was living that was just absolutely disgusting. And I'm telling you, man, there's something about it when you have that child. I feel like you understand the gospel more. You understand what God gave us.
yeah.
You know,
we're his children. Like, you feel what
you understand his fatherhood.
You've read and you've felt that. You're like, oh my gosh, so this is what it's about.
It's
this
incredible.
Is what it's like.
You understand more so how God, like you said, how God feels about us. You know, and it's hard to go back and think about, you know, before, you know, he's our Father. He's our Father, our Heavenly Father.
Well, you understand the necessity of love.
Exactly.
And of grace. Like,
exactly.
It is imperative. You have to have it, but also how natural it is. It's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not. And a lot of people make it out to be something hard or visceral or reactive. It's always there.
Yeah.
Well, and you understand the crucifixion too, like.
Oh yeah.
So people always say, like in a physical manner, you're saying, oh, he ultimate sacrifice, and that ultimate sacrifice, a lot of people simplify that as death, but I mean, he didn't just die. And you look at that and you're like, I would do that for my kids.
Yeah.
I would do that, and I wouldn't even think twice about it. But what I really will get me, man, is the fact that he was doing that for people who hated him.
Yep.
Like one of my favorite verses in scripture, in moments in scripture, is when he talks about, you believe in me and you see me, yet think of those who don't see me and still believe. And he was dying. I mean, honestly, you know, he's God, so he knows it.
Yeah.
But he's dying for people knowing that they're never, ever going to accept the gift that he has for them.
Yep.
And he was okay with that.
And even to add a layer and to make it even more incredible, he could have stopped it at any time.
Oh,
with a snap of his fingers, with a blink of his eye, he could have stopped it at any time. He didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to, but he didn't have to. And to go through that much pain and torture and still see it all the way through and never once stop, to the point to where he was sweating blood the night before of just the pure anxiety, knowing what was going to happen, and still never stopped it and went all the way through.
Then his last words were, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do."
Yep.
I mean, I posted something because on Facebook, I don't really get on there that much because I don't like it. It just gives me, I just don't like it. I don't like people. I don't like seeing the negativity. I don't like seeing people act and talk to each other the way they do, and you get
strangers even.
It's also posturing themselves, which we're going to go off on a tangent if we keep going.
No, go ahead. Right.
Posturing themselves in a way that is pretentious. We all don't live perfect lives. We're all imperfect, especially at our own houses. Yeah, we're. I'm just saying, they ain't all.
Yeah.
In the firehouse.
Yeah, but like this morning, I'll go on there. I go on there in the morning, and I'll post something. I try to be positive or get somebody thinking about something, and then I get off, and I might go on there on lunch because I don't want to be rude. So I'll like somebody's comment because I don't want to be rude, and I want to let people know that I actually do care what they think.
Yeah.
And so but like this morning, it was about forgiveness, and Ollie and I talked about this not long ago because I want to have Ollie on the show.
That would be, I can't wait.
It'll be a good one.
Yeah.
And
I've talked to him recently. We worked a shift together, and I would love to listen to his episode. He's got a story.
Man, what I've
Sorry,
seen.
go ahead.
How I've seen the Lord work. Nah, don't be ashamed. Don't be a.
Yeah.
How I've seen the Lord work in his life is just, man, it gives me chills, man.
Yeah.
And it's just, for me, the fact that like a year ago, like he didn't want me to talk to him about God, and now when he calls me, we talk about the Bible and Scripture.
See,
and
that episode, I thought it was him you were talking about.
Yes.
When you were, because you didn't say his name before, and
No.
you described everything, and I was like, it's got to be Ollie. That's got to be Ollie.
But what I love about it is that, he's been hurt real bad by some people. And we were talking about forgiveness. And I was asking him, I was like, how you doing forgiving the chief over in yonder parts?
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? I think I'm there. I think I'm forgiving her. And I was like, I said, how awesome is it that when we forgive people, we think about setting them free of hurting us, or, saying, okay, I'm going to let you go because you did this to me, or I'm not going to let it bother me anymore that you did this, and I'm going to give you your pass or whatever. But the problem is that's not how it works. Like, what's the craziest thing about forgiveness? And, I could be hypocritical here in the future because I'll be honest with you, I don't know if anybody did anything to my wife or kids. I don't know if I could do it. I like to say I could, but when I look at
the
it,
Lord helps us with that.
yes, because when I look at it right now,
Yeah.
when I look at it right now, there ain't no way.
Yeah.
But what's crazy about it is the fact that it's not liberating that person that did wrong to you. It's liberating you. And I told Ollie, I said, if you actually forgive that person that hurts you so bad, I said, you will be amazed how much less anxiety and frustration and anger. It's liberating you from your anger and your frustration and resentment that you have. And it's just crazy how that works, because a lot of things in Scripture that I see in the Bible, we look at it in a finite, like singular mind, like tunnel vision. Sure. And when you actually really dig in and start looking at things, you realize, holy crap, all this stuff he's asking me to do for everyone else, and this love and this and everything he's doing, dude, that's not for them. It's really for us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's crazy. It also goes back to when you were talking about, like, you were ashamed and all this kind of stuff, and you didn't know. This is what, I might get in a tangent here, but this is what frustrates me about a lot of believers.
Scotty going on a tangent.
This is what frustrates me about believers in general. A lot of believers made you feel that way because you're thinking, well, these people that know me are going to say I'm hypocritical.
Yeah.
They're going to say this. They're going to say that. They're going to say this. And what's crazy is the fact that, like, those people should be the ones loving and encouraging you, you know. And
Oh yeah.
and that's the thing, that the same thing going back to Ollie. The first time I ever met him, well, not really the first time, but the first time we worked together, because I saw him in the morning when he first worked. I asked him, I said, "So you're an atheist?" And he got really upset with me. You know how freaking mad Italian, you know?
Oh yeah.
And I just kind of backed off, and he came up to me later, and he was like, "I'm sorry I got that way, you know, it's just," but he's getting that way because other believers chastised him when they asked him about his atheism, and made fun of him or told me he was stupid and all this kind of stuff. And he said he had never met somebody that didn't do that to him, a Christian that didn't do that to him. And I literally, when I heard that, it hurt my soul on a level of looking at it and people who believe and have like faith and believers of the word.
Yeah.
Because I was like, see, that sucks. Because
It really does. It does. It's
and
painful.
who are, if not us, then who?
Right.
And if no one has that same mindset, then how are we supposed to accomplish or achieve or help anybody?
Sure.
I think the Lord humbles us too, because by far I was definitely one of those people before the Lord humbled me big time. And maybe, and I'll never know for sure, and that there's plenty of good things that come out of things that happen, but maybe that was the whole reason and point of my shame, was to humble me, because it has. I'm a completely different person, and I hear about things that people do or have done or whatever and everything now, whereas before I'd been like, that guy's a mutt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anything to do with that guy. You know what I mean?
Damaged goods.
Exactly. Yeah. And then whereas now I'm like,
Kind of sympathize with it a little
he's
bit
going
more.
through some stuff. Yeah.
Maybe I can help.
Yeah. I'd like to see his rebound,
Yeah.
how he comes back. And I have, there's been a few that I have been able to encourage and you know, try to pull to the side. I've received and I've seen how much grace that I have gotten.
I love that.
And so now I guess I have noticed that once you realize that grace that you've received, I give it to people more freely now, because I by far did not deserve it at all. And I, you know, during those dark times when I was feeling all that shame and everything else and really kind of exposing it and trying to work through it and everything else, I was desperate. You know, I was ostracized from my family, my friends, people that I'd known my whole life, and really going through my divorce was a really dark time, and all the while sharing custody of my daughter and trying to be a single dad to a 1-year-old little girl, you know, and I was struggling, man, and I was just hoping and praying for somebody to have some grace with me and with what I had done, and you know, several people did, and
Sometimes it's just hearing it.
exactly, and Talbert was actually one of those people, you know, and that had been one of the really gut-wrenching thing the last few weeks for me with Talbert. And man, I mean, this last year has been rough. There's been three good dudes, three good firemen that have passed away, but every single one of them has taught me like a horrible lesson. And I've prayed and asked God, like, can you please
Like learning from your siblings.
find another way for me to learn these lessons? I can't take another.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to learn this that way. You know, the first one was Jay Muller last year. Jay was one of my youth group students at the church.
Oh,
when I was
man.
telling you
I didn't know that.
I was doing that. So him and my brother went to high school together, and they moved back to South Carolina after he graduated high school. And you know, he moved away and everything. We'd talk every now and then, send some messages, and I saw that he had joined the fire department and everything. And the last message he had sent me a few weeks before he died was, "Hey man, you know, like, love to get together soon, go to like a training conference or something. You're one of the main reasons I became a fireman." And I never replied to him. So when we went to his funeral, I went to open up my messages to see what outfit he was training with because he was telling me about it. And it wasn't like this kid or anything like that. It was I was probably putting my daughter in the bath. It was like 7:30 at night, whatever. It was like one of those missed text messages. I think I've talked to you about this. Like, it was gut-wrenching, man, because I opened it up at his funeral to try to remember the name of the group he'd been training with, and I saw that was the last message he sent me, and I never even replied to him. I never said, dude, that's awesome. I'm proud of you. I had told him I was proud of him, but I left that unread, and so I had that, I kind of had that of, man, this guy died in a fire, and I hadn't told him, that I was proud of him, or, yeah, man, I'd love to see you, or, whatever. And I was just busy. But that was that lesson with Jay was, you got to take care of your friends.
Yep.
You got to reply to those messages. And I'll mess with Scotty. Scotty will send me, the same copy and paste. Happy Father's Day.
Not all of those are copy and pasted, but
whatever.
not all of them.
Yeah, he'll
Most
send me
of
the
them.
same copy and paste, and I'll
It
give him
takes
a
me
hard
3
time.
hours to send those
remember.
out.
He
It
gave
is-
me a
that's
full
what-
dissertation.
This is a great example.
I
the
came
whole
back at
time
you,
we were
though.
talking about it. Even though it was a very unfortunate and just depressing lesson that you learned in that, but relentless intentionality is a key aspect in that brotherly discipleship. Especially in this field that everyone in here works in.
Yeah.
It's imperative.
You're right, and that I had told I'd go to text Scotty, and I'd see it's September, and he had told me Happy Father's Day, and I was like, hey man, Happy Father's Day.
Love it.
In
He's like,
September, yeah.
Better late
And
than
I'm like,
never.
dang, I'm still dropping it, But that's
you know what? It was a good Father's Day.
it was. Yeah. I don't
was.
even remember where
It's
I
like
was, but I'm
Father's
sure
Day
it
in
was a good
September, just like Christmas in July.
I mean,
Yeah.
5 o'clock somewhere.
What's
So
going to that real quick is
Yeah.
funny is when I come back up to like Thanksgiving and Christmas, when I come up and I send my text message and there's somebody I've sent it to, and there's like 2 past ones that I've sent to them to the last one, and then I'll send another one. I don't care. I keep sending them, and 2 things either happen. Either I get a reply saying, "This is not him. Stop texting me."
his phone number changed 5 years ago.
Please stop.
I'm like,
please.
oh, well, how do I get a hold of him now? Like
She's like,
or-
I'm a single woman in my 20s. I don't care about Father's Day.
Do you have his number? No. Stop.
Or they'll respond back and they'll say, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that I missed your last 2 texts," or whatever. Look, I'm gonna tell you, the situation you just talked about, I had a hard time dealing with that too, because people, several people who listen to this might know who this is, but I had a buddy who worked in Cherokee. His name was Josh Capes, and he worked for Atlanta before Cherokee, and a heck of a fireman, and great medic too, even though he didn't want you to know that, but he worked so much, and he made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of it had to do with drinking. He was divorced a couple times because he couldn't put the booze down, man. He just had a hard time. He battled with it. And every time he was going through a really dark time, because when he left, he got let go by Cherokee because he didn't show up, and he came to work drunk. That's what they said.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was having a hard time. Everybody knew it. And then he got on with Clayton, and me and him would keep, I'd send him the same text I send everybody else, and just to let people know, because I know that I have to copy and paste a lot of those, and people give me a hard time about that. But for me, I know how good it is to know that somebody is thinking about you. And even if it's copy and pasted, every single person on my phone, I scroll through that all the time, and I already look at people, and if I haven't talked to somebody in a long time, this is not like, Christmas, Thanksgiving. It's like if I haven't sent them a text in a while or seen them, I send them one, because it's like I feel like the Lord brought their name to my attention, And so I'll do that periodically, and I would do that with Capes. And he would text me every time he was like in a bender or like depression.
Yeah.
Dude, we had some like I had some talks with Capes where I was like I had to call somebody to get over there to go talk to him to see him because he didn't live near me, or I was about to call somebody for more help, and then I would call him the next morning and say, "Hey, you doing better?" And he always just feel like he was doing better. Well, I had a hard time with this for a while, and nobody really knows about this except Megan. But I was at Megan's parents' house, and a lot of times I just set my phone down because when I'm over there, I'm just chilling, family, food, and I went to my phone and I saw Capes had called, and I called him back, and it was like 45 minutes earlier. I called him back, nothing, and I'm like, dang, man, and so I tried calling him back Monday, nothing. I tried to call back Tuesday, and then I started getting a little worried. And then I want to say either Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning, I found out he killed himself. And I found out the whole story is he went to his daughter's birthday party, but he showed up drunk, and he had been divorced from her mom, their child.
Yeah.
And supposedly he like made a scene at the party. The police were called, and he was running. And I asked what time the party was, and I can't remember exact time, but I checked my phone, and he had called me. It had to have been when he was running from the party, leaving the party, because the time matched up. Like it's like to where that's probably when he was calling me when the cops were called and he was leaving. And so they went to his house. They found him. He was drunk. They arrested him, and then I found out later that he killed himself. And I beat myself up for that for a while, because I thought to I know who am I, but I thought to myself, there's a reason why he was calling me, and I wasn't there for him. And the most serious thing and when I say if you need anything, call me, man. I really mean it. Like, there's nothing more I mean in my heart, and there's been a couple times where really bad things have happened, but there's also been times that I have been able to be there. My wife, Megan said, she's like, but look at all the times he called you when he was in these moments where he might have done it then, and you were able to talk to him. And I'm like, yeah, but it's hard to think that way and so I feel you. Like,
but
you can't beat yourself up. Like,
you are definitely the Holy Spirit, and you are definitely communicating well, because you did that for me about a week and a half ago.
Amen.
Wow, that was pretty awesome.
So the day that I can't remember which day, we had a bunch of rough days with Brandon, but I had kind of seen the writing on the wall and knew. So for those who don't know, and this is a podcast that would be around for years and years. Brandon Talbert was a lieutenant here in Walton County. Great guy.
Good guy.
Wonderful dad. Wonderful fireman. And 2 years ago, got diagnosed with melanoma, tumors all over. He fought hard, treatments, chemo, radiation, all kinds of stuff. But in the end, the tumors in his noggin, they just couldn't quite get. And Brandon was very quiet and stoic. And like I had said the other day, those treatments really took a toll on him that he didn't care to share or speak about with anybody, but we had known. And he didn't want people looking at him like he was sick. He didn't want to be the cancer guy.
Yeah.
He just wanted his normal life back. That's what he wanted. But anyways, Brandon, I had seen the writing on the wall, and I knew that this was, he's dying. This is it. And he had a brain bleed from one of his tumors, and they did surgery and tried to get it, but there was 20 other smaller tumors that were inoperable in his noggin, and they were all bleeding as well. And Brandon, for the last 2 weeks of his life, was just nonverbal, but he could communicate with squeezing hands and and just kind of really look at you. So we had some conversations and talked, and I am forever, as painful as they were for Brandon, I'm grateful for those 2 weeks because we got to say goodbye to our friend and comfort him.
Yeah.
You know, my dad lost his two best friends. He never got to say goodbye. It was tragic. It was quick. It was instant, but he never got to say goodbye, and there's a lot unsaid between them, and that is one good thing that I will always thank God for with Brandon was there's absolutely nothing left unsaid between me and Brandon. Me and him are good, you know. Up until his very last day, last few hours, we had talked and he understood. But you had texted me. It was that day, like within the hour, that it was either when we were bringing him home on hospice or I had seen the writing on the wall. Something had happened that
It was
morning.
the day before because you said that the next day.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, you were bringing him home from hospice because remember I told you I was going to call you on lunch and.
That's right. So it's the day we were bringing him home from the hospital. He's going to be on hospice, and I was just having a hard time, and I got to bring our buddy home, and he knows what's going on, and he's got a 5-year-old son, just a great kid, and a wife, And Scotty texted me, and we hadn't talked in probably a month or so. Yeah. You had left, Newton. We talked about your new job, and I was excited for you and everything. But Scotty just texted me out of the blue. And he's like, hey, man, the way Scotty texted me, hey, man, I was just thinking about you this morning, just checking in, make sure you're doing okay. And, I love you, brother. And just let me know anything you need. And I immediately texted back. I said, how did you know?
Yeah.
And then I texted right back. I said, don't answer that. I know how you knew. Like I knew how you knew. And I broke down sobbing when you texted me that because I was like, I had one friend that was going through all that, and the Lord was like, you know what, Scotty, go check on Avery. And that meant the world to me, I was like, golly, man, now I have to do his podcast.
Got it.
Yeah.
No, well, what's crazy is that I've been dealing with, not only I felt bad because I didn't know Talbot was that bad. Like you said,
he hid it. He wanted it that way.
He kept it away from
That's
people.
The way he wanted it.
And I didn't know. I'm not going to act like we were friends. I wouldn't say we were enemies. What I'm saying is that I didn't know him that well. I had trained with him a couple times up at the Connexes and all that kind of stuff. So I knew who he was. I see him, say hey in the street kind of thing if I'm walking in Monroe or whatever like that. So I didn't really know him, but I didn't know that he was like that. Now I did know that. Is he? I guess is it out, or do we still want to keep it on the low about the other fireman that he's going through?
Oh yeah, no, I think he's kind of quiet about it. Yeah, but another guy, same department, great dude.
So and Avery and I talked about him, and but that morning is when I found out that my aunt had passed away from cancer. And what's crazy is I didn't know Talbot was that bad. And I don't know what it was because I really don't. It's so crazy because sometimes I'll try to go by what I try to do is I try at the beginning of the year, I'll start at the A's and I'll do A's in January and then I'll go B's and I tried because there's people in each letter group and it's just easy for me to reach out to people. And then what I'll do is I'll just randomly like scroll through my list and then I'll just stop, and wherever it stops, I'll look at it and the first person that sticks out to my mind, I'll hit their name and then send them a message. And then that's what happened. And so it was kind of like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then it was crazy is that I was dealing with, which we had time because she had gone to the hospital and she had been like that for like almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like unconscious. They gave her 24 hours and she was pretty much unconscious in a bed for 24 hours. I mean, for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And my dad and I had a little emotional time that morning. And like I said, the 2 weeks helped us get prepared for that and everything. And then, like I said, it's so crazy because then later that afternoon, you and I talked on the phone and I was like, I had no clue. And it's just amazing when you see God work like that. And you see his his children helping each other out and doing things. And that happens a lot that we don't realize for others as well. It just happens all the time. And I just feel like the Lord has put us into a place of trying to love others. I know that's kind of cliche how people talk about love your what, love. It's like, I do love people. I don't agree with things that people do. I don't agree with your drinking, how you go through all this stuff. But, Meredith and I have talked about this, you know? Who am I? The Lord said to love one another. He didn't say that we accept our faults. And the Bible actually tells us that to confront your brother or your sister. Yeah. But the thing is that who am I to look at a person that God created perfectly and only look at the wrong in him? Like, that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to find the good in someone and try to help them with that, and just focus on the good, because this world is going to focus on the bad. Mm-hmm. And that's what sucks, is going back to that. A lot of Christians look at the bad and they don't focus on what God really wants us to do is let's improve the good. Yeah. And you made my day too.
About this before too. Like, I think sometimes that even comes from a good place. Like I mean, it seems like sometimes they want to confront somebody to let them know, hey, it's like they don't know, hey, what you're doing is wrong. And some people may not know, but some people are well aware that what they're doing is not good. And I feel like that almost backfires, really. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Yeah, you're doing what you think is right, but then really you're kind of pushing them further away. And I imagine it's kind of tough to discern when the right time is for that.
It's never the right time. Or always the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's potentially coming from a good place.
A good place, yeah. You just don't.
But some people is maybe not even coming from a good place. Maybe they're looking down on people.
That's what I was going to say. It's got to come from a place of love.
Yes.
Because you can try to have the best delivery and everything else beforehand, but and I think that's the difference in, the few times I would try to offer advice or encourage people before I was humbled and then after. Mm-hmm. Now it definitely comes from a place of love, because I see who I was, sitting there. Mm-hmm. And so it's more of a, hey, listen, man, I have been where you're at, and I don't know everything that's going on, but I know the process that you're in. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then it just has to be from that place of love.
Absolutely.
Because if it's not, then it is a very condemning. It's a very
that person can tell.
They can feel it. They can feel it if you're not coming in it with love. Mm-hmm. And it's a very off-putting.
Mm-hmm. About the church he was going to.
Yes. What was that lady that told him, we don't need idle people or something like that?
Yeah. Oh crap!
For backsteppers.
We don't need backsteppers. I couldn't believe that when I heard he told me that.
Yeah.
And that
I thought he said backstabbers.
Yeah.
It's going along the entire episode thinking it was backstabbers, and I just could not. I was like, what?
It might as well have been the way that it was received and the way that it was kind of,
You're right, actually.
It might as well.
Yeah, but
that lady probably was right, though. He needs a little slap in the head from time to time.
Don't we all?
I'm just kidding.
Here's the thing is she was probably, maybe she was absolutely right, and she meant that she was doing the same thing as Clint was saying. But see, the thing is you got to understand this. Like, when I see a guy that's like that, the first thing I want to do is I just want to hug him.
Yeah.
Maybe
the love wasn't there like it needed to be.
Well, what you do is
you have to understand people and how to approach them, be able to analyze them, and truly, for intentionality to be actually intentional, you have to put yourself forward and try to understand somebody. Even if you just met them, you don't just go in and treat everyone the same. Yeah. That's part of intentionality, and that's part of the thing that Scotty does it so well, and we all know it. I know I'm giving him a big head right now, but it's showing individualized and analyzed treatment of people as they are.
Yeah. And it's funny that y'all bring up Dempsey, and I don't think he would mind me sharing this, but here recently I've had to sit down with Dempsey and come to him from a place of love. And what had happened, though, and he's at Station 6 now. Mm-hmm. So I'm so I'm relieving him in the mornings, and you can imagine me relieving Dempsey. So, you know, freaking cookie crumbs in here. I'm losing my mind, you know? So, you know, he had done just simple. Yeah, exactly. Avery, why are you so upset with me? Don't even talk to me right now. I just now finished drinking my coffee, you know? So there had been a couple of shift changes where I had snapped at Dempsey, and I told Cody and Travis, I was like, I feel bad. I was like, I've snapped. I was a little hard on the old Dempsey this morning, wasn't I? And they were like, yeah, you're probably a little hard on him. Well, I came in the next shift change, and he had done something else stupid, and I was hard on him again. And he went out into the bay, and he was quiet. And I was like, okay, you need to go. You need to go make this right. Go talk to him. So I sat on the front bumper with him, and I took a deep breath, and I was like, I need you to know that this is coming from a place of love. Do you know that I love you? And he's like, yes, I do. I was like, okay, then just shut your mouth and listen to what I'm going to say. Don't interject. Just listen. And I told him what I believe in him and what I can see in him and what he needs to do. And I said, and that's it. I love you. Have a great day. And that, I think, made a more impactful, I don't think, I know.
Absolutely.
More than me just chewing him out and you know, jumping on him and shoving him away and making him feel bad. I had to make myself calm down about the crumbs on the floor or whatever he'd been doing. You know, I don't even remember half of it now. But I sat down and talked to him from a place of love because I do love Dempsey.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of myself in him, you know. And so.
A little tough love sometimes. Still love.
He takes it very well.
He does.
He takes it very well. But it goes back to this. It's like you can't ridicule, or even if you're coming from a good place, you can't talk about that judgment or that ridiculing of what you're doing, all that stuff, until you like that foundation of love is set. So like you can't just, like a lot of believers in church in general, not God's church, I'm talking about the people in the church. What they do is they don't get to know the person first and feel them out and figure them out and all this stuff. They just jump in and say, that guy's not doing right. That guy's not doing right. You know, and they start doing that, and that's not right. You have to allow, like the people in this room, if any of y'all did something wrong, I could come to you and I say, I feel like this isn't right. I don't think you should be doing this. I don't think, and this is just, I don't even have to say, you know, I love you.
Yeah.
I will, but you know that I love you.
Yeah.
Right.
And the same thing with me. In fact, I would want you to come to me if I do something wrong, or if you don't like what I'm doing, or if I'm going above, like, you know, the joking and stuff, like actually hurt your feelings. Cause I had a person come up to me. I was like, I'm so sorry. I was joking.
I did not mean to be that funny.
I'm really sorry. Which hurts my feelings. Like,
Man, I love that joke though.
Yeah.
yeah. But you know what I'm saying? It's just the same thing. And I look at it this way when I punish my kids, I get really frustrated, but I either separate myself and let them go away, and then I come up to them, and before I even punish them, I tell them, look, I love you more than anything in the world.
Hello.
I love you more than anything in the world. And I shower them with love. And I tell them, look, because I don't want you to grow up to be a little snot.
Yeah.
I have to punish you. And when I woke up this morning, it's the worst thing. There's nothing else that I would not wanted to have done today. But I have to, because I love you. And they I think they understand that. Like, that's the difference between.
Oh, dude, I didn't when I was a kid. I was like, shut up, Dad. You like spanking me, you know?
You know what? My dad.
I understand it now, though, man.
My dad hardly ever spanked
to
me.
punish my kid.
My mom spanked the stew out of me.
Did she?
But my dad, I don't remember my dad. I really don't remember him ever spanking me.
Oh, man. I
can't say the same.
Yeah.
I remember one time I decided I was going to run from my mom because I was faster than her.
Yep. Everybody tries their mom at least once.
I timed it very poorly, though. It was by the time my dad got home from work.
Oh.
And I could not outrun him. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He whooped my tail before he even knew what he was whooping me for.
Just because he caught you running.
Picked it up where she left off. My great uncle was a painter. And so he had paint sticks, and that was my mom's weapon of choice in the battle of tearing my rear end up. And I often would quickly turn around and put that knee up right whenever I'd anticipate it. I was good at it too. She'd rear back and I'd turn it and smack it across my knee and it'd break. Now she had 2 of them.
No, my dad there was a methodology. If you knew you were getting a spanking, it was to your room. You had to lay across the bed with your hands all the way out.
And
Don't
your
you
butt
come off that bed.
up.
Yep. And he took that belt, and he didn't hit your butt. He hit your thighs.
Sweet meat.
I can feel it now. I just got chill bumps
Yeah,
thinking about
I'm
it.
curling my toes right now. Like,
and you know what? It didn't work because I still grew up to be a knucklehead.
Don't tell my kids that.
Yeah.
so speaking of which, from expulsions to getting fired to I'm getting
all the
somewhere with
highlights.
this. I'm getting somewhere with
No,
this.
this is good. No, this is
I'm
good.
getting somewhere.
Did anybody else?
Yeah.
To having this visceral shame that's consuming you, to suicidal ideations, to where you are now.
Yeah.
How have you seen Christ change you?
I never, ever, and growing up in the church and going to those schools and hearing about all the good things, I never thought that the Lord would give me the life that I have now. After how horrible I was in my first marriage, I never thought He would have allowed me to have the marriage that I have now, or the relationships with my family, even the relationship with my first wife. I mean, we're not best friends by no means, but we can be in the same room for my daughter's gymnastics. We can, we get along. We can call each other on the phone and talk. Hey, here's how we want to handle this, that. And she knows that I'm here now. She knows that I'm doing this podcast, because I would never come in here and talk about my life, which so heavily involves her, and not give her a heads up or ask for her guidance, And there were certain things that she wanted, me to consider before I came and did this and everything. So
That's really good.
I truthfully could not imagine the grace is just, it's incredible, the life that I have now. So I had a purpose. I found a purpose when my child was born. Kind of like I found a purpose when I found the fire department. This is what I wanted to be. So there was one step up from the knucklehead that I was,
Yeah.
And there was still a lot of knucklehead. And I had my child, and that was another step up, and I started a business. And I mean, truthfully, as busy as I am with that all the time, that keeps, I mean, I have no time for trouble. I'm just, I'm trying to build something for my children is what I'm doing. I'm trying to build something to be able to give them and to be able to provide a different kind of life for them that doesn't require me being in a fire station for 48 hours, 96 hours in a week. So that really consumes my time. And my wife is, I mean, she's incredible. She's such a blessing for me that I 100% don't deserve. I didn't deserve any of my blessings, but especially now after all that shame that I felt, for me to have all these blessings and truthfully what it feels like, and I tell my wife this all the time, and going back through all these old memories and everything, with Talbert and everything, it feels like an old life. Like, it feels like that person is dead. Like, I don't even recognize that life. I can't fathom it now.
Praise the Lord.
But the way that my life is now is, and there's no doubt in my mind, just from patterns, there's still some knucklehead in there, and there'll be another step up, But I'm so much further than I was before, and it's all that incredible by the grace of God.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to paint a picture of
no,
negative picture, but
that's my story. I'm proud of it.
Oof, hush.
Yeah.
But I was I couldn't help but I wanted people to hear, like, this is a amazing transformative journey and story that could really impact people. It's a beautiful story.
Yeah, I've had friends who I've reconnected with who knew me then and have, after a great period of absence have been back around me now, and they have told me, they're like, you're a different person. Like, you're still like glimpses, you're the old Avery, but you are a much different person than you were. I'm happy. Truthfully what it is, and that they don't know about, is I'm not carrying that shame. I've embraced my past. I've moved on, and I've accepted God's grace. How silly of me to think that His grace wasn't enough to cover the stupid things that I had done, And when that preacher man said that, I mean, it was like a slap in the face that I just carried for the rest of the month grinning about. You know what I mean? Like, what an idiot. Like, you should have known that, But sometimes you can hear something over and over and over and over and over again until truthfully the Holy Spirit is like, hey, that's about you, idiot.
High time
I don't know how.
listening.
Yeah, I don't know how often the Holy Spirit calls y'all an idiot. But,
all the time.
Okay, good.
All the
Yeah,
time.
it's not just me.
You're not alone.
Day.
Yeah,
Every
good.
single
Yeah,
day.
it's not just me.
Sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I fight with shame. I fight with shame all the time. So, I
Amen.
mean,
Yeah.
and I didn't have something to accelerate it. Alcohol accelerates that. So, like,
Yeah.
I get it. What I deal with a lot is not being good enough. I just feel
Emotional
like,
shame.
yeah,
time. Big
like
time.
I feel like you talk about your blessings. I feel like I don't deserve what God's given me one bit. Like, and I don't know if I want to feel like I do. Because I don't. In my mind, I deserve a lake of fire. I mean, that's what I deserve. People don't like talking about hell and all this kind of stuff, but the thing is that I was saved from hell. I was saved from eternal torment. And like, when I listen to you and you say I'm a new guy, like, I think of two things. I think the scripture talks about you are born again and you are a new creation, a new creature. Like, old ways gone, new ways in front of you. And then I think of, well, that's not you in this situation. That's somebody who is like you that didn't know Christ. And the old man is gone. He's a new creation. You're the prodigal. You're the guy that knew, you left and you said, you know what? This ain't right. And God brought you back.
Yeah.
And he came, and it's like Russ talked about, our preacher was talking about this last week. And he was saying that, and I never thought about this, but that if you left and took your inheritance and came back, you were warranted to be stoned.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that you were not supposed to be. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Heard that part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
so-
heard that.
And so he said, I like, think about this. What if his dad ran to him to stop them from stoning? Because it does say that they started picking up rocks. Like,
Yep.
and it's like, wow, I never thought about that. That's a good point. It could have been that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was a little of both, because I'm telling you right now, I tell my wife all the time, these Christian, quote unquote, y'all see that, these Christian men that their daughters, go live this life of lust or shame or whatever they do, or their sons go out and they reject Christ, or they, that, what I'm saying.
And they ostracize them.
Yeah. And they kick them out of the house,
Yeah.
and they get rid of them. I told my wife,
Give
I
up
said,
on 'em.
I'd rather I want a man like that in a padded room for 10 minutes more than his son.
Yeah.
Like, because that's exactly the opposite of what the gospel tells us to do. How could you ever do that to your daughter? And if you're listening right now and you've done this, shame on you.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you're wrong. And if you can't find the love to forgive them and welcome them in and love them, then you know what? Send them down to my house. I'll give them
Maybe we can bleep that out in post. We can edit that.
No, I get a lot of trouble here.
For real.
We're
Yeah,
throwing
yeah.
addresses out.
But
Old
it's,
Jacoby would be good at that.
Yeah, we got to give him some work.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Hey,
But
find where Scotty gave his address.
I got it. I asked the question of, what if God gave up on you?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That would suck.
that's perfect. Well, that's the Father.
Gnashing of the
Yeah.
teeth, baby.
He's
what
our
you
Father.
get. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Perfect. Yeah. That's exactly
what
right.
if God gave up on you?
And
What
you know,
if the only father that you ultimately need in your entire life gave up on you?
we're going down this vortex now, but what I was going to say, and I want to hold on to that because you're saying he's our father, and what if he did that to us? You know, I had mentioned that I was ostracized. I felt, you know, separated from my family, from my friends, everybody I'd known, and when I mended relationships with my family, you know, my first wife and I's divorce finalized, and we got the papers back signed and everything while we were in the hospital together with my daughter.
Oh,
Someplace, you know, for the last 8 months that we've been going through this divorce, and we settled everything amongst each other outside of court and everything, and God bless her. Again, I'm so thankful for who she is as a person, but we never thought that we would get the final papers and everything settled while we're in the same room, much less in the hospital where my daughter had swallowed magnets. As a 1-year-old, she swallowed 2 magnets, and they magnetized and really tore her up, ruptured her appendix, her intestines. It was bad. So we were in CHOA for I think 3 weeks the first time, and then a month later, she had to have another surgery. She was still messed up. A month later, we had to go back with another 2 weeks. But you know, we had gotten the papers and everything while we were, you know, there for her, and we had both been there for her, you know, the whole time and everything. But finally, after all the smoke had cleared and everything was settled, you know, I was able to sit down with her and then a separate time, you know, with my family and really, you know, come clean and explain myself and you know, really face this shame that I had been living with. And I told my family that, you know, for the past 8 months to a year, I'd felt alone. It was the first time in my life that I felt like I didn't have my family. I didn't have any friends, but truthfully, you know, my family. And that really, unexpectedly to me, that broke my parents. And they were like, we never felt that way. We did not mean to make you feel that way. We felt that way from you. And I had realized that my shame had finally gotten to a point that it separated me. I was separating myself from everybody. I had pulled away, and I wasn't talking to people or caring for my relationships or anything else. And truthfully, my shame had tricked me into put myself into a box. And so then we tie that back into he's our father and everything else. You know what I mean? We separate ourselves from him a lot of times. Not that there aren't parents that are doing like what you're talking about, and truthfully, shame on them. That's horrible. You know, how there's no greater example than Christ's love for us and the prodigal son and everything else. But we separate ourselves from the Father the same way that we separate ourselves with our shame. And that's truthfully what I had done. I had put myself into a small black box.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it makes sense. It's twisting it. Deep.
Yeah, it was. I was still thinking about it after you said it too. That's why I was just staring at you like, oh my gosh. That's literally further cementing the gravity of your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so impactful because it is, like I said, so transformative. It's from where you were to where you are now, and the lives that you have impacted negatively and then turned around. And I mean, you have people that are coming up to you saying you're a new you.
Yeah.
That is the manifestation of God.
It is. And it's the you know, it's the first 30 years of my life would be the perfect picture of God's grace. And I'm sure the rest of my life will be too. It's kind of like I said earlier, like, please don't let another friend die for me to have to learn a lesson. I have to learn things the hard way. Obviously, that's the way I've done my entire life. But, it makes me wonder, I'm excited to find out, what the next 30 years of my life, what the message is going to be, now that I have this kind of cleared vision and this new path that I'm on and all these blessings that I recognize, that I absolutely don't deserve. I'm excited to really get up and go, knowing that, there's another 30 years in store of some really cool stuff, especially with kids and everything else, Yeah.
Love it.
You just gotta say, you gotta keep the word close. You gotta keep that positivity and people close.
Yeah.
For me, sometimes, recently, I was telling Megan, man, I was getting beat up because, I lost my Aunt Robin. I got 3 very, very special people in my life that are going through really bad cancer issues. And just hearing about their stories is killing me. And I'm telling my wife, I'm trying to stay involved. I'm trying to, and there's nothing you can do. I told my wife, there's nothing I can do to help these people. And I wish there was something I could do. And that breaks me aside, on top of the fact that, but that's when the devil will he'll try to pick. That's when he wants to get you weak.
Yeah.
So you start thinking less of yourself, and then he starts picking on you. At my new job, I struggle some days, because I was telling somebody the other day, I don't regret my decision, but some days, I'll be honest with you, a lot of days, I'm staring at the computer, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? This isn't who I am, but
I've done the same thing.
I'm just but I know that God called me to do this, and I have pictures of my family all around me.
That's what I was going to say. What is your mission? What are you building?
Absolutely. And it's I told people, one of the things that go through my mind when I'm sitting there, and I can't explain, what sucks is we can't, as first responders, when you leave that realm, or when you're outside of that realm and you're trying to talk to people who aren't involved with any kind of first responding,
yeah,
no clue.
No.
They when you talk to them about first responding, you might as well be talking about an episode of 911 or some stupid show that's on TV.
Oh yeah, I watched that last week.
And they just can't. And I don't blame them for it.
No,
because I didn't either. When I got into it, I had no clue what I was about to get into. I just was like, hey, that looks cool. I can help people. That's what I want to do. And then you get into it.
Yeah, I thought you just hung around your towel all day ordering pizza. Sorry.
Boy, was there a trick.
Midday showers.
Little did you know.
Sorry for my interruption.
No,
I
you're
saw my
fine.
opportunity.
Yeah, you got to take it. The door's open. Walk through.
Well, maybe if you put some pants on, then I can
Yeah. Well,
I think your journey into the fire service would be different if you grabbed the pizza and the towel fell.
whoa.
He'd be
Hey, man.
oh, you know what?
Hey, man, have you ever thought about being a fireman? You got the look.
Hey, but one person I know that if that happened, and they wouldn't have even flinched, would have taken the pizza box and walked like nothing happened, is Buff Huff.
I was going to say, yeah.
Whew, but
Stories I have about that guy.
They're like, okay. Good to meet you too.
But when I'm staring at when I'm going through these moments, and I'm just not being in so no one knows, I guess we might as well say it. I've taken another job, so I'm still part-time firefighting. So I haven't got out of firefighting, which I wouldn't have even left if he didn't even put that on the table, because I'm a fireman, man. And that's what makes it kind of hard. But I look at my family, and I think to myself too, the first month I was I was having a hard time with finding my purpose. Yeah. It sounds bad to a normal job, but I feel like I don't really have a purpose except for my family. And I feel like that, sometimes it makes me feel like something's wrong. Like I'm not doing enough, or I'm not doing something important. But then I remember a couple of things. I remember that my family is really my main purpose, and they're just my only purpose now. But then I also think about, not technically, but I think about the owner of the company, who's a friend of mine. I wouldn't have taken this job if it wasn't for him. So he's my purpose. Seeing him succeed is my purpose. And these people that I've met at this business, they're awesome, great people. Now they're my purpose. And I just build on things like that. And and I'm okay with it. You know, it's just like I said, just as little, and you know I'm talking about, Mouton, but I can't explain that to somebody who doesn't do it. They don't get it. It's just rough.
I struggle with these guys, these friends of ours keep dying, and I struggle with, and they all have kids, man. They all have, several of them have young kids, and like when Jay died, on the way home, there was a quiet truck full of us driving back home.
I can't imagine.
A fireman, and I was like, is this job worth my 2-year-old? She was 2 at the time. Is this job worth my 2-year-old not knowing who her dad was? Like, if what happened to Jay happens to me next shift or next month, or God forbid, whenever, this job is not worth my 2-year-old. And that was the answer. No, this job's not worth my child not knowing who her father was. And, I struggle with, why do I even want to do this? Is it for me because I'm an adrenaline junkie? It's what I'm good at, it's a way to pay the bills or whatever. I'm a fireman, But one of our guys, Clayton Mitchell, said, if not us, then who? Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
And if it's your calling, if it's what you're good at, then you do it. But I mean, I still struggle with that every time. I struggle with that question every day. Like, why?
I remember.
Why do I keep
sacrifice
doing this
is a two-way street. Always.
I remember somebody telling me before my daughter was born that my mindset would change when she was born about fire service.
Yeah.
And this was a guy who mostly was a volunteer, and he was saying that when his son was born, he's like, why do I want to be here? And he ended up, hanging it up.
Yeah.
And was done with it. And he was right that my mindset would change, but in a different way. Kind of the mentality that Clayton had there.
Yeah.
If not us, then who? And to me, it kind of fueled my fire more to be more aggressive in my training and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My physical fitness.
Yep.
Stuff like that. The times that I have to make a difference in that outcome is well before the bell rings for that particular call.
Exactly.
Making sure all my stuff's squared away, making sure that I'm squared away mentally, physically. Yeah. And I think that the people that call 911 that day and expect somebody to show up to go to work and do their job deserve that.
Absolutely.
That person to show up on the rig, and I would want that for my kid.
Yeah.
Like if I'm at work or whatever the case may be, God forbid, the house is burning, my babies are stuck inside. I want that guy to step off the rig that's been preparing for this.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do that. Like, and I know that most of the guys are. There's some that aren't, And I think that a lot of us that still stick around and do it, even after kind of having that question, like, is it worth it? And it's not really worth it, but it could be. I don't know what I'm really trying to say.
Well,
like
I see what you're saying.
So the answer that I eventually came up with, because, my parents knew Jay too, and so they go to the funeral, and my mom and my dad was like, I mean, he never like said you need to quit this job, but he kind of asked the same question, like, is this worth it? And so the answer that I eventually came to, the training and everything, like you said too, but Jay was all that and more. I mean, that little joker was working out like, I mean, he was just the picture of fitness, training, everything. And, the Lord already knows how I'm going to die. And I could quit firefighting and die in a car accident tomorrow, or I could do anything else. But one of the things, after I had left Social Circle, or was fired from Social Circle, and considered, and I went to a job, with my family making significantly more money, and I would have been home at night, and kind of for a little bit thought that maybe that's what I wanted. I had some realizations and things like that. I truly, I think from the Lord of imagine, and it's kind of a heavy weight to hang around, but imagine the people who I wouldn't be there to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or whatever thing that I may see that somebody else might not, or that person that, and it's not like a selfish way to think of it. It's just like, the butterfly effect kind of thing of like, imagine the consequences of me not doing this, and I'm going to die. I'm going to die some way, somewhere, somehow. That's already up to the Lord. It's predetermined. There's very little I can do to change that. So, at the end of the day, it was, okay, well, I'm doing this for, one, I'm doing this to provide for my family, and I need to be there for them. But two, I'm doing this to, because I'm good at it. Truthfully, I'm good at it. And I know that somewhere along the way, I'm making a difference, even though I don't ever see it,
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I was that much of an inspiration to Jay until he died,
Mm-hmm.
But I made a difference. And then I look at the inspiration that Jay had on everybody, and I'm like, holy cow, that broke me down, Imagine if I had hung it up, and when I was as his youth pastor, and I was like, you don't want to be a fireman, you know what I mean? Or whatever else, just the butterfly effect of things. So at the same time, like if I had the opportunity, and I told you this, if I had the opportunity that you did, I don't know if I wouldn't take it, man, and stay part-time somewhere, truthfully, because, that's everything. I'm kind of stuck where I'm at right now. I can't provide a better life for my family by leaving anywhere. But if I could, if it fell in my lap, and they're like, hey, you can be home for your kids every weekend, every night, and you can make this much more money and everything else, man, that's tough. Yeah, sounds good. I'll work a couple shifts a month,
So for me, to some people, they might say what they want to say, but for me, the fire isn't. I still love fighting fire. Don't get me wrong, but it's not what it was 4 or 5 years ago. It's more or less like making sure that we get out of there and get it done, taken care of for the people, and then EMS, all that kind of stuff. What we do for others, that's what I think. The purpose of that purpose for other people.
Yeah.
When I first got into service, it was like, oh God, like you're like and I just got in when I was 30, so I was a little later. Oh my gosh, if I would have got in at 20, oh my goodness, like I would have been ate up, But I've never been ate up because I had a kid when I got into the service.
Yeah.
So I knew from the beginning that the service wasn't going to be number one. It never would. It never has been. It never will be.
Yeah.
And so, but it never affected me until literally this January, because I was sitting there watching Kylie play. No, it was end of February, and I was watching her practice, and I was looking at her coach, and her coaches are awesome, great people, but they didn't know
What is she playing?
softball at the time.
Okay.
But they had no clue what they're not teaching them anything.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, I don't have time to go to home, because I got 3 jobs. I'm working. I get 1 Sunday off, maybe 2 a month. I get 1 Saturday off, maybe 2 a month. And then they call me at night and tell me, oh, Daddy, this is what we did in our game. It started adding up, and that kind of bothered me a little bit. Not enough to leave. I would never have told you that I was going to leave before. Even when he called me, I had no clue that this was going to happen. But the fact that I was like, I got the game ball, and it's that's when it started bothering me, when they started getting old. And then I had 1, now I have 2 that I'm missing. Now I have 3 that I'm missing. And I think the compounding of that is what really even made me, because if that wasn't there, if they didn't play sports, I I don't think when he would have called me, I would have told him the same thing I did everybody else who has called me and offered me a job outside of fire service, which was like 3 people this year. I would have said no, you know, but now I wasn't going to, I said no pretty much when I got off the phone with him. But then the rest of the ride to Charleston, when we were on our way to Charleston, I was thinking to myself, I was like, maybe I should, and I told him I'd give him, because we're friends, I've known him for a long time. I was like, maybe I'll let him talk to me about it. And when I told Megan that, she was shocked.
Yeah.
Like she'll tell you, if I was a betting person, I would have bet that this would have never happened. And I didn't think it would either. But the more I researched it, the more I talked about it, the more I prayed about it, I felt like something different was here. Like there's something going on. I don't know why. I turned down a church position in January. A position that I know God has called me to do, but I didn't feel good about the position for some reason. Like I don't know why. And then this came up, and it's like, you need to be here for some reason. And I still don't know what that purpose is. And yeah, it's been wonderful because I haven't missed a practice. I haven't missed a game. I have liberty. I would have never taken this job if he wouldn't have allowed me to stay in the fire service at all.
Yeah.
I told Megan that going into it. I said, I don't care if he offers me $1 million a year. I love what I do. I'm not a money person. I don't care about money. I just want my family to be taken care of. I told one of the sales guys at our job the other day that, and he goes, well, give it to me. And I'm like, as long as my family's taken care of, I don't care about the other stuff. And that was okay. And I told my buddy King, we had a softball tournament that I wouldn't have been able to been to the other day because I would have been on shift. And my buddy King was in Woodstock, and my mentor. So the 2 of the guys that are really struggling with cancer right now are 2 of my mentors in Cherokee County. And I was with them for like 7 years of my career. And they both have very aggressive cancer. Mm. So that's another thing you're thinking in the back of your mind. My Megan was like, look, and I talked to them before I even took the job too. And they're like, look at us, why did we get this? We don't have history of this in our family. Like, there's something here.
Yeah.
Even though no one can explain it or prove it, but there's a reason why all of us are dying early.
Yeah.
There's a reason why our life expectancy is like 68, 70 years old.
Yeah.
And then, you talk about these pension plans where we can't even pull to 65. Give me a freaking break.
It's a joke.
You can live 3 years after you retire? No. And so I look at all that, and my dad, telling me what he told me. And I'm listening to King though, and I told him, I was like, look, if I could make a living taking care of my family working one firefighter job, like one job, I wouldn't have left. But I shouldn't have to work 3 jobs to be able to take care of my family. That's not right. Yeah. On top of inflation and all the garbage that's happened the last several years. And then the fact that I was working at Stone Mountain Park. I was working full-time for Newton. I was moving furniture for Hodgepodge. I was picking up bush hogging jobs. And I get home and I'm tired. Like, I wouldn't want to go to some of my daughter's practices and games because I felt like I was going to fall asleep.
You're not the dad that you want to be.
No,
I have you feel shame for not being the dad that you want to be.
I have no energy when they want to go outside. I want to go outside with them, but then I go out there and like 30 minutes in, I'm wore out. And I'm like, we shouldn't have to do that. Like, I get it. Government, these commissioners and these government officials, the first thing they're going to cut is first responding, healthcare, and they're going to cut freaking teachers. They're going to cut the people who are literally doing everything they can for other people. And the people whose pockets get filled are people who are only doing for themselves.
It's because they're expendable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that, like, we have commissioners that don't even know we work 24-hour shifts.
Well, that's how you know that, the world belongs to the devil. I'm serious.
No.
There's your sign. When the people that literally matter so much to the progression and the sustainability of society are the ones that are degraded and mistreated the most by the people that are supposed to be running the institutions of society, you know it belongs to the devil.
The last will be first, and the first will
Be last, yeah. And I had somebody tell me the other day, like, well, you know how, I mean, technically you only work like part-time anyway, don't you?
Yeah.
I almost,
Yeah.
God, I almost blew out of my seat. I was like, time out.
You get 2 days off.
Yeah. I'm like, time out. First of all, I can't provide for my family working for one fire department, not my family. Second of all, do you really think that we sleep through the night every night?
Yeah.
Well, I've been blessed to go to 15 in the last year and a half, so we sleep through a lot of nights.
Yeah.
But before that crap,
Yeah.
I never got to sleep. Like, you know, like it's you know how it is. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But the thing is that when I tell people when I went to sleep, you're never really asleep.
No, you're not sleeping
because your body that third day is programmed to say you might have to wake up.
You know where you're sleeping at. It would be like trying to take a nap in a cop car, which I would never do. What a horrible vulnerable thing to do, right? But obviously it's not the same, but it would kind of be like that same sleep of like you're just kind of like halfway sleeping.
Yeah.
Like every third night of your life. And then that, I think, takes probably the most toll on us physically, on our health, is how horrible our sleep cycles are.
Yeah.
And, you know, the 24-48 schedule is outrageous, man. And I wish I could remember the numbers off the top of our head. But our new chief took it up to HR to talk to them about the
Did he
retirement
really?
age. Yeah. And so working a 24-48 schedule, a 24-48 employee is working 13 years longer than a 40-hour
Was it
employee.
800 hours more a year, I think is what it is?
Yeah. So
That's what I told.
At a 30-year career working to 65, they're working 13 years longer in that same time period than hours to hours, than a 40-year employee. And they were like, holy cow. And they're like, so by dropping, you know, first responders, law enforcement, and fire and EMS, by dropping their retirement age from 65 to 55, they're still giving you 3 years.
Yeah.
They're still giving you 3 years more than the other folks are.
Well, and these people who said you sleep through the night or you work part-time or whatever, I was respectful, so I didn't say nothing. But I thought to myself, I'm like, when was the last time you worked 72 hours in a week?
Yeah.
With one job.
Yeah.
Because I worked last year, there was a weekend where I worked like 96 hours from Friday to Monday.
Yeah.
Because I worked my shift on Friday. I went to Stone Mountain on Saturday. After I got off my shift at Stone Mountain at 11 o'clock at night, I went straight to a movie gig, which is another job I was doing, and worked from 12 to 8. And then I went back. On Sunday, I had off, which pretty much slept the whole day. And then Friday, I went back to work for 24 hours and then had to go back to Stone Mountain on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I worked like 96 hours that weekend.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And then the rest of the week was shot. The older I get, man, I don't.
No.
The rest of the week is like a struggle.
I used to pull those and finagle those 96s and 72s all the time. And, man, I work a 48 now, and I'm like.
Dunzo.
I'm like a fat guy running a marathon.
I'm at hour 23,
dude,
and I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this again?
Yeah.
No way.
And the worst part of the 48, too, is when you go home for 24 hours to get like that taste, and then
you have to be right back.
Right back the next day to like 24.
I will say that's what I've enjoyed about having something outside the fire department as a side gig.
Yeah.
And, you know, you hear about people getting burnt out and stuff like that. And,
yeah.
You know,
can't recommend it, man.
No. Dude.
No.
If you're a younger guy and you're listening to this, you can find something outside the fire department. I'm not saying you got to leave, but.
Well, it really makes you appreciate those dudes that we all know that have been working 48s for years. Like
oh, my gosh.
The whole time that I've known them.
Mm-hmm.
John Hall's one of them. That man's been working 48s for the last 15 years that I've known him. Holy cow.
Yeah.
But I will say, not all of them. Some of them are able to do it, but most of the guys I know that work 48s all those years, they're divorced. Their family is not. Their kids don't hardly know them.
There's one guy that was the exception to that rule, and it was Darren Boozer.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
Dude, that guy.
I was
that guy was
about him
great.
earlier today. Yeah.
That's a good
He
one.
put his kids through
He's
college. This dude worked 48s his entire career, just about. Put his kids through college and retired. Ain't nobody here from Boozer anymore. Every once in a while he'll check in, hey, I'm doing good. He don't come down here. He don't visit, nothing.
He was
For
good.
him, my time.
He was
Yeah,
a good
that's
one, though,
exactly what
dude.
he
He was a
did.
good one.
Yeah.
He was a great one. But, well, man, I think we can go ahead and start wrapping it up. But, dude, you got anything else you want to get out off your chest or let us know?
I appreciate it. This was good. I've been looking forward to this. What y'all are doing is good. This is really good. And man, it's all about the grace. That grace is.
Yeah.
If
Sufficient.
I could put a theme, like I said earlier, on the first 30 years of my life, it's that grace.
Well, I
By
know
far and
your
large.
story is going to impact some people's hearts.
I
Yeah.
hope so.
All it will take is just a little bit of listening, and I mean, it's resounding.
I appreciate
And
it.
like I said, a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to be listening to this. And, and I think it was really good.
And I'm an open book too, man. If anybody has any questions or wants to know stuff, just come ask me. I can give you more detail and tell you what's going on. It's not something that I want to put on this format, for my kids to listen to 40 years from now or whatever. But no.
But your kids will have this 42 years from
That's
now.
right. That's right. And the only thing that I can tell them, outside of Daddy just absolutely loves you, is that that grace is far more abundant than absolutely anything that they could ever do. And it's overreaching, it's overpowering, and the blessings that you get from that grace is just, man, incredible.
Well, what's really cool, and nobody really knows this either, is that, Jacob, he unfortunately is not here tonight. He's having a baby.
That's right.
My man.
It's like our first
Congratulations,
night
buddy.
without him.
Yeah, what?
And it was probably the smoothest transition into a start, I'd say, that we've had.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to tell Jacob.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
jumped
We're not
right
going
in
to tell
here
him
and
any
you-
different.
Y'all were ready to go. I showed up 10 minutes early, and y'all had a microphone waiting for
We
me.
were waiting on him for like 45 minutes. Like, when this guy gonna show up?
But what I was going to say is really cool is that I came up to Avery, and when we started doing the podcast, it'd come up, and I invite Bones, and then Avery and I would talk in the morning, and I invite Avery, and the first couple of times he didn't say nothing really to me. And then one time he just said, I'm just not ready. And I was like, yeah, I'm not pushing you, man. I said, and I told everybody, we tell everybody, just come on and come on, we'll record it.
Yeah.
And we don't have to post it. And then you'll have something for yourself. And if you want to later, we can do it. And, but what's awesome is, like, I had said that, and he said, well, I'm not ready yet, and I was like, oh, cool. He said, yet,
Yeah.
And then what was it? A week later, you were doing dive training, and Jacob was there.
Yeah. Yeah, Council's on the
He's
Walton County dive team
Yeah.
with me. Yeah.
And they were doing training, and he was there. He goes, hey, I met a buddy of yours.
Yeah.
And I said, how convenient.
Yeah. Yeah.
Convenient. And
He's
that
a good
it meant a lot when you finally, said I was really looking forward to it. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you came on.
Well, thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Yeah.
for being willing to come share your story. you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm an open book in the hopes that it could help somebody else.
Well,
Absolutely.
you're
That's
also
it. That's exactly
always
what it is.
welcome to join us again anytime. We always invite everybody back, just to hang out and do
Absolutely.
that. So, but do you have any prayer requests?
Oh, man, do I? Yeah. Talbert family.
Absolutely.
Off the top of my head, that's just so fresh. Alicia and Tripp
Mm-hmm.
and Mike and Lita, his parents, great people. I've really, I've known them for years and everything, but we've really gotten obviously a lot closer over the last couple of weeks, just loving on them and trying to help them through everything. And they're going to be fine. They got a really good family and really good support people behind
Yeah.
them, and they have all of us. But that our other friend that we know
Yep.
that's dealing with his thing, and I mean, man, it's just it sucks watching people have to go through all this stuff. But the best thing is try to let them know that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Amen.
yeah.
Amen.
Y'all got any?
The councils.
Hey.
New baby.
There you go.
Brand new baby.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And that-
Absolutely.
That dysphoria of the first month of new baby.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've got one, too.
Insomnia.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when we're done with this, we find out that We got a baby here.
Well, he never responded to my text from
Which is
earlier,
a good sign.
which made me think that the
Yeah.
baby might be here.
Oh, yeah, and in his arms. So,
Avery is a good name, Jacob. Boy or girl?
He has an Avery.
I do.
Ah, boy or girl?
Girl.
Okay.
I got
See,
all
I
those.
always meet girl
It's the
Averys,
girl
man.
squads over
This
here.
is, this
That's
is the
right.
girl
That's
squad
right. Four
right
girls.
here.
Yeah.
That's why we're
Yeah.
sitting across from each other. My prayer request would probably be more generalized. It'd be for the election and for the health and future of this nation.
Yeah.
I'm
No
with
matter
that,
which
too.
way it goes.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I don't actually care. I care about,
Either
God.
way, there's ramifications. Either way, yeah.
Absolutely, that God stays with this nation and that we don't neglect him as a people.
And
like we
and
already have been doing.
that's what I've also. That's what I like to. I have a person that we have everybody has their thoughts and processing on who they want to be president or who they don't want to be president or they might be okay. But to everybody who's listening, don't forget that the Lord says to pray for your leaders.
That's right.
So even if, and this is crazy because like I did not vote for Joe Biden and I don't like Joe Biden, but okay, but I pray for them with my kids at night. I pray for them. And one time my daughter, Kylie, came up to me and goes, I didn't think you liked Joe Biden. And I said, look, baby, I don't know Joe Biden.
That's
All right. I know that I don't really like his policies or the way he's running the country, but I don't know him. And that he's my leader. And Christ tells us to pray for our leaders, even if we don't agree with what they think.
Yeah.
And you never know what I've seen the Lord work. And look at Avery. We've seen the Lord work in people's lives that we would never even thought. I've seen people talk to me about Christ that I would have thought would have never would ever say a positive thing about God or anything. Or I've seen it happen, and that's awesome. And so we got to pray for our leaders either way. If it doesn't, that's the one thing I don't like about Facebook right now too.
Yeah,
but
it's everywhere.
but hey, don't post and publish what you hate about somebody.
That's right.
Post what you like about the person you like.
Yeah.
You don't. I don't understand it. Throw the hate out. Post what you like about your person or what you would like or desire. Don't post what you hate about the person that you don't like.
That's right.
That's not good for you. It's not healthy. And pray for the person that you don't like, even if they are our leader, because you know what? They're there for a reason, and God knew it was going to happen. So I know it's hard. I know people don't want to hear that, but the election's a big deal, and it's America first, no matter who's running this thing. So we just got to hope that stays the way it is. But yeah, and my friends that are dealing with cancer, that would be mine. I know there's others, and if anybody is listening, obviously we say all the time, hit us up on Facebook, email us, let us know what your prayer requests are. I have a list of every prayer request that I've seen or heard from everybody here in my phone, and it does get prayed over. So don't think that it's not being heard. And then I guess with that, we good?
We good.
Y'all good?
So long, everybody.
Love y'all.
See ya. Love you.
Peace. I had to.
I was
sorry.
like, who's going to do it? We didn't discuss this.
Sorry.